People who have came close to dying, what were your last thoughts? My heart stopped beating for 7 seconds while I was eating dinner in my hospital bed waiting to be discharged. I realized I was going to pass out and put my arm across my plate so I wouldn't fall face first into it. All I could think of was, this is gonna make a mess. Glad they took their time with the paperwork. Ended up walking out of there 7 days later with a pacemaker at the age of 46. What were you hospitalized for? Heart-related issues or something else? I had severe AFib. Kinda stupid that I didn't figure it out, since my son, 20 at the time, had been hospitalized with it just 2 years earlier. They double-dosed me with amiodarone. Got a bolus while in the cath lab and then a pill when I got back to my room. It sure as hell slowed down my heart rate to 0. After a few days they decided I better get a new idle switch so I wouldn't just drop dead. I've had 2 rounds of catheter ablation and still have issues. This is how one of my patients died. But he has 85 and basically already dying from a bone marrow disease. But he was AFibing all over the place. He was rate controlled fairly well, but then Brady down to 30, then coded. The ICU brought him back, then coded again. He coded a bunch of times and eventually family said no more. I am not sad about this patient. I am glad he is not alive for us to torture him more with more medicine. He was at the end already with no quality of life to speak of. I was in the process of being electrocuted, having been working all day atop a scissors lift. The electricians had left a 277 volt line live, and while I was standing and reaching while running the last low voltage run of the job, I contacted their line. I saw the white light at the end of the tunnel. All I knew was throbbing and 60 cycle noise and the white light. My last thought was, I wonder if I can tell my knees to unlock. Obviously they did, since I am here typing this. Severe electrical burns, still here living the life. As a teenager, I decided at one point to stick a paper clip in the end of one of those light-up candles you place in the windows for Christmas. I remember a blue spark popping out and how I could actually feel the electricity moving from my hand and up my arm. Luckily it didn't get farther than my shoulder, but my heart was kept beating extremely fast for a good 30 minutes or so. So that jolt really stays with your system for a while. Very cautious around electricity now. It's why after serious electric shocks they say to go to the hospital to get checked out and monitored, I'm sure. Even if you get off the current and seem fine, just sore, it can still mess with your heart for a while. Electrician here. After an electric shock your heart can be out of whack, but it will still beat and pump blood around okay for a while. But if it is in that out of whack state it can also just stop suddenly, or get worse very rapidly, / stop pumping blood properly. There are people who have died up to 48 HRS after an electric shock because of this. You likely won't be able to tell by taking a pulse or how you feel, but it will be obvious on an ECG immediately. If you get shocked you must get an ECG as soon as possible, preferably within 24 hours. As I was getting the Heimlich I remember thinking how embarrassing it would be to die at a Renaissance fair. It was the day before my 29th birthday, so I also remember being disappointed I wasn't going to make it to 30. Press the like button. Subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon for future notification. I choke a lot. Sometimes on my spit. I told my husband if I die by choking on my own spit I want that put in my obituary and headstone. It's so embarrassing and that will be my last parting gift. Being awkward. I had the Heimlich done on me while I was eating Doritos and it felt like my body was fighting the Heimlich action. They squeezed and I pushed out. I would clear my airway a little and then it would close again. It was so scary trying my hardest to breathe and I just couldn't. I noticed I breathe through my mouth a lot and that's probably the main culprit of my choking episodes. Have you ever brought this up to your doctor? If not, I'm wondering if you might want to do a swallow study where you are given a contrast liquid to drink while they image your esophagus/throat to see if anything abnormal is going on. It may just seem like an annoying or silly quirk, but being at higher risk of choking can be life-threatening, so it's worth seeing if that is due to something treatable. I should have cut that meatball in half. A co-worker of mine choked on a meatball too and he put a fork down his throat to try to retrieve it. He did, but I'm glad he didn't stab himself. I can imagine him having to stick a magnet down there next to retrieve the fork. And then sticking another magnet to retrieve the magnet. This is the worst game of operation yet. Oh no. Wrong side of the magnet, it's gone deeper. Press the like button. Subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon for future notification. God, why can't I breathe right now? Just wish I could breathe. Oh, I'm getting tired. Anaphylactic shock, each time. Each time? It's happened multiple times. Same thing each time. On a ski trip we ordered dessert and my friend had just had a serious allergic reaction the week prior, so still a little freaked she asks the waiter insistently if there's any nuts in the dessert. BC, she's deathly allergic. Dude barely acknowledges her and says no. Dessert comes out and with the first bite she chomps down on a FCKing walnut. Twice in less than 2 weeks for this poor girl. People seriously don't respect food allergies/allergies. Shit, wasn't the car that hit me white? As I'm looking down at a car underneath me. I'd been hit hard enough I bounced up over the car that hit me and had enough air time to clear the second one. Props to the driver of the third vehicle, he must have stood on the damned brakes the moment he saw me because he brought the cement truck to a stop before it got to me. Second time I was hit by a car as a pedestrian. I'm now much more careful crossing streets. Not that it's helped much, I seem to have a car magnet in my ass. I witnessed a pedestrian get hit once. He flew over the car and cracked his head on the asphalt. I never found out if he made it, but the first car to arrive was a police officer on his way to work. Ambulance and fire truck were all on the scene in less than 5 minutes. Me and another guy stood out there stopping traffic and basically stood in the road so the poor fellow wouldn't get run over. Had drivers honking at us. I was too busy talking to the guy that got hit, trying to keep him calm, I guess. The other guy stopping traffic stood there flipping the bird at the cars that were honking. I felt bad for the guy that got hit. I think he was suicidal because there were no other cars in the area, and if he had waited 5 seconds he would have made it across the street. I also felt bad for the guy that hit him. Some poor college kid that was just minding his own business. He was not on a cell phone or doing anything out of the ordinary. My throat feels weird, my gums are itchy and blackness like a deep sleep. Woke up a bit later, found out I was allergic to crab the hard way. My uncle nearly died that way. He went to sleep after eating crab, and if my grandpa didn't go to the bathroom, he would have died. His room was next to the bathroom, so my grandfather heard him struggling. He was saved by the P. Edit, fixed grammar and clarification. Press the like button. Subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon for future notification. That's it. As I looked at the surface of the water I couldn't reach. Same. Then followed it with the thought that this was something dumb you would see someone do on a show that was popular at that time in the 90s, Rescue 9/11, and that they would probably do a reenactment of how we all went canoeing even after we were warned the river may continue to rise while on our trip. Had a stroke last year and was taken to the ER by my brother. The last thing I remember was asking him to take a picture of me with his phone as I must look terrible. After I was admitted, I didn't remember anything other than dreams until late October, and days after I was admitted, when everything was a blank, they induced a coma so that my brain swelling would go down, and I was critical, so I presume I was pretty close to dying then. I'm sorry to be nosy, but that is extremely well written. Did you have any speech or language difficulties after your stroke? I'm still recovering, but from what I can tell I have managed to be able to regain the ability to write like I used to. My stroke was in July 2019. I figure regaining speech and writing ability was a drawn-out process requiring professionals, but I have no recollection of much of the rest of 2019 when much of it must have happened. My speech nowadays is more sing-songy and seems to be more simple, but I wonder if that's just my perception of myself. For a while, I felt like I was speaking like Frankenstein, Tonto, or Tarzan in their SNL bit, Fire Bad. Thanks for watching. Like, share, subscribe.